For more perspective on Biden's immigration plans, I'm joined live from D.C. now by Katie Barlow, host of the Words Matter podcast and founder and co-editor of D.C. Circuit Breaker. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So as we heard, the immigration was on the agenda for today, but got delayed until next week. But given what we've heard the president talk about on this issue, what are you expecting to see when those executive orders are signed?
Well, it's going to be a continuation of a theme that we have seen so far from this administration, and that's kind of walking two paths at once. As you said at the top, the administration is focused on executive orders that are squarely within the power of the president in the United States, within the executive authority, and those are essentially rolling back what the Trump administration has done at the border wall with the Muslim travel ban and things like that. A secondary priority that's equally important is focusing on getting something through Congress. And so while they're also doing everything within their power with the executive authority, they're also encouraging their allies on Capitol Hill, in the Senate, and in the House of Representatives to pass comprehensive immigration reform.
So then go into which Trump immigration policies are likely to be on the chopping block and which ones perhaps might stay.
Well, as you said, the border wall funding has immediately stopped, and that was set to actually go before the Supreme Court in February, and that case is likely moot at this point because President Biden has indicated that he's more interested in perhaps pursuing a technological route to survey the border and keep an eye on the border security. He also rolled back the travel ban that basically blocked foreign nationals from traveling to the country from Muslim-majority countries. Another important move that President Biden has done that hasn't gotten as much attention is he got rid of Trump's efforts to exclude non-citizens from the census count. And the census count is incredibly important to all citizens of the country and non-citizens because it allows states and cities to have funding for things like public schools. And when non-citizens are excluded from the census count, then everyone gets a reduction in public services. So the fact that the Biden administration has prioritized rolling back Trump's attempt to exclude them from the census count shows that he is putting immigration reform as a priority.
Now, I want to look at visa restrictions specifically. Give us a recap of Trump's last actions on this.
On the census count?
When it comes to visa restrictions.
Oh, on visa restrictions, yes. So the Trump administration restricted certain types of visas, including H-1B visas, which the business community has been particularly happy to see Biden turn his focus on. H-1B visas allow particularly skilled workers to come into the U.S., those that have graduated from public schools, from American schools, to stay here and work for our companies, for our businesses. A number of the leaders of the tech business community, including Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, have praised Biden's efforts to get visas rolling, particularly those H-1B visas that allow them to recruit the best and the top talent that are not just American citizens.
So you talked about some of the changes that they're looking for. What are the implications of this now sort of going back in their direction, going their way?
So they will be able to rely on census funding that will come up in the next year. They'll be able to have access to public schools, to public goods, to the vaccine rollout that the Biden administration has prioritized, vaccinating 100 million people in the first 100 days, and also having a pathway to citizenship. As you mentioned at the top, providing a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, for those that arrived here as children when their parents brought them into the country illegally is hugely important for the future of this country, and providing them a pathway to citizenship is a part of that.
Now, as we know, executive orders can only go so far. So what about sweeping and long-lasting immigration reform? We know that it's been on Washington's wish list for years, but what are the biggest hurdles then in really getting that change through?
Right. So there are really two hurdles happening at once here. There are political hurdles. In order to get comprehensive immigration legislation passed, the Biden administration is going to need not only every Democrat in the House and the Senate, but they're going to need 10 Republicans on top of that because of something called the filibuster rule that would essentially allow any individual Republican senator to block any immigration reform unless they have 10 senators, a total of 60 senators voting for them. And we haven't had comprehensive immigration legislation in this country since 1986 under President Reagan, which, by the way, when he allowed 3 million people in this country illegally a pathway to citizenship, because it's hard to get that done in Congress. It's hard to get the numbers that you need for a comprehensive immigration reform. But the second issue is also logistical. This takes a lot of focus. both from the administration and from their allies on the Hill. And they're trying to do a number of things at once. Again, as you mentioned, they're focused on COVID relief on the Hill and in the Biden administration in the White House. They're also trying to get Biden's cabinet confirmed, and there's an impeachment trial starting in the Senate next week. So a lot is happening at once, and passing something this huge takes a lot of political capital and focus from both the executive, the president, and from Capitol Hill.